Assalamu alaikum everybody and welcome back to Programming Concepts. This video is going to be the sixth part in Inventory Management System. In the previous video, we created some models like invoice item, and customer. In this video, I'm going to create view model for adding invoice and also the view for adding invoice. So I go to view models and add a new class. I name it as add invoice view model. And it's going to be inheriting the base view model. So adding supply and adding invoice would be kind of similar. So if I go to the view, here we see there's a supplier, and in the case for adding invoice, there will be customer and customer mobile number and customer address. We have a separate user interface for adding suppliers, but for adding invoices, we will be adding the customer on the same view because this will be more handy. So when you are creating an invoice, you can add a new customer and create the invoice right on the same place. So I will be putting the selecting the customers from here or creating a new customer. Then these things will be same, like selecting the item that we are going to sell and quantity and the sale price and add the item. And then we will be putting some other controls here for discount, extra charges, and amount paid. And here will be the total invoice charges and then save. So this will be very similar and very simple. So I will be copying most of these things in the view, but for now we go back to the view model. So the first thing here would be observable collection for our customers. So private observable collection customer. This will be called customers. Customers. I need to use the inventory management system models. Okay. Next we have the public instance. We will be doing the same procedure for getting and setting as we have been doing in the previous parts. Then we have a selected customer, private customer, selected customer. And then we have the customer name, private string customer name, this is the name that will be entered by the user, and like the entered name will be stored here, and the selected customer, if we select the already existing customer, if it is not already existing customer, then the name will be stored in this string. Then we have mobile number. So let me see the model for this. Customer name, phone number, and address. So phone number, and address. Also, if we select the selected customer, these values should be changed. So when we select a customer, if value is not null, customer name becomes selected customer's name, and phone number becomes selected customer's phone number, and the address becomes the selected customer's address. Otherwise, everything goes back to null. Okay. Okay, next thing that we need here is the selected item and the collection of items. So private observable collection, item, items. And then the selected item. And after that, we have quantity and measuring unit text. Quantity. So we have quantity here, private decimal. Let me check the model. So in the model, we are using quantity in double. So we need double here. Double quantity. And then we have measuring unit, string, measuring unit. Then we have sale price, double sale price, and then we have the collection for invoice items or invoice details. So we have invoice item here. So private observable collection, invoice item, public And next thing that we need here is the extra charges, discount, and paid amount. So we have private decimal, decimal, extra charges, and I am going to copy for discount, discount. And then we have paid amount, and then we have total, invoice total. So private decimal invoice total. And also we need to update it every time the invoice item is added. So here in this list, if value is not null, then we need to update the invoice total. So I'm gonna add a function here, update total. Private void update total. So if decimal total equals 0, if invoice items not equal to null, total plus equals invoice items sum invoice item lambda expression I quantity I sale price. So the quantity gets multiplied by sale price and it's added to the total. Okay, so it says it's double and it says it's decimal, so we're gonna double it. Double. Also, if discount not equal to null, but discount can never be null because it's an amount, so we subtract the discount and we add the extra charges. So we also need to change them into double. 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 Okay, now I'm leaving it here and going to create the view first, and then I will be completing this view model later. So go to views, a new window. I'm gonna name it add invoice view. Okay, as this view is going to be similar to the add supply view, so I'm going to copy the markup code from here. Okay, now just need to change a few things. Add invoice. Here it should be customer, bindings, customers, selected customer, And the text value, this should also be binding to customer name, and update source trigger to property changed. Okay, display member path is name. Let me see the customer model, and display member path is customer name. So it should be customer name. Okay. So basically the text displayed here would be the customer name. Okay, that's it. Then we add another text box here and here for address and phone number. So let's add a text block with the text phone, margin 5, and ten 5 or 55. Then the text box, this should be text binding to phone number. Phone number. And then we gonna have same thing for the address. 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 Let me reduce the margin to 30. Okay, that's good now. So we have customer, phone, and address. Then we have item and quantity, measuring unit, label, and sale price. Sale price. Sale price. Let's add some margin here so that it's 5-0 or 10-0. Okay. Then here we have invoice items, item name, quantity, sale price. Then we have total amount. So it should be binding to invoice total. Copy invoice total. Okay, here we also need to add discount and extra charges. So here so the text block says extra charges, and then the text box for extra charges. So text binding extra charges margin 5. And width 100. Then comes the discount. Copy this. Discount. Discount, and then comes the paid amount. Just after the discount. Paid. And the binding is paid amount. Paid amount. Okay. Everything is cool now. Now we need two commands. One for add invoice item command, and the other for save command. So we go to the ViewModel, and first we need to create the constructor for this ViewModel. So public add invoice ViewModel, and here before this we need commands. So public I command add invoice item, and the other is I command save command. Save command. And here we initialize them as add invoice command equals new relay command add invoice item and add invoice item. And then we have save command, new relay command, save, and save. Then we need to load the items. First, the customers. So first we need to load customers. I create a function for loading customers. Private void load customers. Let me add the DB context instance here. So inventory DB context, DB equals new inventory DB context. So customers equal db customers order by lambda expression customer name. Load customers. And then we have to load the items. Void load items. But here we need to load the items which are available in the stock. So variable items. First we fetch the items to list, and then let me first check the item model. So as item model has this not map stock value, we are going to compute this value for each the item and only return those which have a stock value greater than 0. So let's be back here, select I, stock value equals db stocks where s item id equals item id, and from here we select we select only the stock value, and the default value, if it is empty, should be this, and then sum and return I. And once it is returned, we check where I, lambda expression, I stock value greater than 0 to list. Okay, what we did is first we loaded the items, then we selected these items and computed their stock value using another link command or query, which extracted the stock value from stocks. So from there we matched the item and only selected its stock value. So there may be many instances of the same item, so we select the default value for 0 and then sum all of the items in the stock which satisfy this condition, and then we return these items, and then we check if their stock value is greater than 0. So actually we are filtering out here only those items which have stock value greater than 0. Okay, now as we have these items, now we can store them in the items, the main items that are being used by the view. So items equals new observable collection item. Items. Item. Okay, that's it. So after loading the customers, we load the items. Now we initialize these commands. Private void add invoice item object parameter. So when a new invoice item is added, we create a new invoice item. Invoice item equals invoice item. So here the item ID equals to the selected item ID. Quantity equals to the selected quantity. Sale price equals to the sale price. Let's see what other things are defined in the invoice item. So invoice item has item ID, quantity, sale price. That's it. And then we add it to the list, which is invoice items. So invoice items add invoice item. Also before that, we need to check can add invoice item private bool can add invoice item object parameter. So here we validate the inputs. So actually it returns the validation errors or validating the, so actually it is used to validate the object. So if it doesn't fit, we can cancel the process. So it return selected item not equal to null and quantity greater than 0 and sale price greater than 0. Leave this. Okay, that's good. Then we have can save private so this is can save. So this is for saving the current invoice. So we check if we can save the current invoice and save object parameter return. So for this we need to check selected customer. So selected customer should not be null. Also or customer name should not be null. And customer name should not be null. And phone number should not be null. So when the selected customer changes, these things are automatically loaded. So if we select the existing customer, we already satisfy all these conditions. But what for the customer that doesn't exist in the selected customer list. So for that, we will be requiring the name for that customer and its phone number as required. So when customer's name and phone number is entered, or maybe the address, we can create a new customer and then add it and then put it into the selected customer. So you'll understand that when we create the function. So this is for now good. Now we move to the private void save object parameter. Okay, here we also check for the and. Okay, these conditions. So from these two conditions, only one must be satisfied. At least one must be satisfied. And then we also need to check for invoice items. So there must be invoice items, existing invoice items should not be null too, so that the invoice does contains the items which are being sold. And then it's good. For now it's good. Okay. When we are going to save it, we first make sure that the customer is selected. So if it is not selected, like it is not the existing customer, we need to create one. So if selected customer is null, what we do is create a new customer. So we go to the we create a new customer object. Customer name is customer name, phone number is phone number, address is address, db customers, add customer, save db, save changes. So this customer is saved, and then selected customer equals to the selected customer equals to the customer newly created. Okay, after the customer has been added, we can add the invoice details. So we create a new invoice. So let's see the invoice model. So we have to select the customer ID, date, extra charges, discount, and paid amount. So customer ID is equal to the selected customer's customer ID. Invoice date is date time now. Then extra charges are extra charges. So as our extra charges are double here, but decimal in the database, so we can convert them. So convert to decimal. extra charges. The same way we can do this to discount, or we can change the everything here. We can change them to decimal rather than the double. But for now, I am converting them to decimal and then putting them into these variables. Invoice total doesn't need to be saved. Customer ID, date, extra charges, discount, paid amount. That's it. Okay, now here the invoice gets saved. DB invoices, add invoice, DB save changes. Now we need to save the details. So for each variable item in invoice items, we get the invoice ID from here, this invoice, item ID as the selected items item ID, quantity as items quantity, and sale price as the items sale price. And then we add DB save changes. Or we can just call it right after the loop, so we don't have to call it in the loop every time, and this will cost the processing. So we run this here at the end for once only. Okay, now this is done. We can show the message box, invoice saved. And also we can put it into the try catch block. So if anything goes wrong, we can just handle it. Catch exception EX. So we put it into the try block and show the message box. Okay, now there's only one problem remaining. The problem is if this gets saved into the database, but some error occurs here, and any of the invoice item doesn't get saved into the database, and the execution of the database query terminates, then this would go to the database, but some of the information from here wouldn't go to the database. So this will cause problems. So partial bill will be saved. So to avoid this, I'm going to use the database transaction. So a transaction can store all these changes, and then we can commit at the end, so everything goes smoothly. And if anything occurs, we can roll back the whole transaction. So what I'm going to do is transaction DB database begin transaction. So transaction begins from here and ends here. Transaction commit. And if SQL exception occurs here, we can roll back the transaction. Sorry, I need to put it outside the try block so we can access it into the catch block. Transaction roll back. And if error is something else like general exception, we can just show the error message here. Okay, I think it's complete. We need to add the text box got focus and text box lost focus here. So I'm going to add supplyView.xaml, go to its code, and copy this code from here, go back to add invoice view, go to the code, and paste it here. Okay, now we go back to our main window, and we add a new button for add invoice. I'm going to copy this one and paste it here. Just change the names, add invoice, new event handler, go to the code, add invoice view, and view show dialog. Also in the add view XAML, we initialize the view model. So okay, add invoice view model. We need to add the reference inventory management system view models. This data context equals view model, and that's it. I click on the add invoice, and I go to customer, and you can see there is no customer here. So I'm going to create one, programming concepts, phone number, address, Pakistan. Then I'm going to use the item. So I'm gonna purchase the cap, quantity 1, and sale price going to be, wait a second. In the items, we do have price here, so we can fetch the prices from here. So let me go back to my model, view model, which is add invoice view model, and whenever a new item is selected, okay, selected item. So when the new item is selected, if value not null, sale price equals value price. So sale price automatically appears there. Otherwise, sale price 0. Okay, so when we are adding our first item, obviously our invoice items are null. So if they are null, we just initialize them. Oh, sorry, we didn't initialize the item here. So let's item equals selected item. Okay, now let's run this again. Programming concepts. Pakistan 1, and then jacket 1. Okay, also we see the total amount is not getting updated. I'm going to add extra charges, 8, discount 10, paid 60. Invoice gets saved. I close this. Okay, now we observed a problem that when we change the invoice items, the total doesn't get updated. So the problem is here we say when this invoice items is set a new value, then this function is called. But what we are doing is we are not uh, setting the value, we are mostly adding to the collection. So when there is no invoice items, we set a new value. So this is when the update total is called, because we are setting a value to invoice items. But the next time when we add a new element or something, we are just adding to that collection. We are not setting it. So setting means when we say invoice item equal to something. So when we do that, only then it detects the change in the invoice items. Only then this thing which we have here works. But as we are not doing it, we are just adding to the collection, like we are just adding a something new into the collection, then this thing is not working. So what we can do here is that we introduce a collection changed event here. So when the value is set, like when invoice items are initialized, we first check that the value is not null. When the value is not null, what we do is invoice items, collection changed, unsubscribe this event. So we're gonna create this event. Let me create the event. Okay, we created this event, and in this event, I call the update total here. Okay, what we're doing is we are checking if before setting the value, if it is not null, so invoice items already have some values, then we unsubscribe the old event, and then we set the new value to the invoice items, and then again we check that the new value is not equal to null, and then we assign again the event invoice items collection changed, and then we call the update total. So all we did is first we check that before assigning a new value, check if invoice items already have some values. So if invoice items already have some values, then they must have this invoice items collection changed. So unsubscribe from that and then assign a new value, a new collection, and then again subscribe to that event. So this thing we did is because when we want to cancel all the items we have added to the invoice details, we just want to void it, then we would be needing this. So when we void it, we would be unscribing from the past items collection change, and then we assign a new one. I hope you understand that. Let's debug this. Add invoice, programming concepts, add quantity 1, add. Okay, now it says object reference not set to an instance of an object. Oh, I got the problem. So here we're not going to check the value. Actually, we need to check the previous invoice items. So if invoice items are not already null, only then we need to do this. Okay, so let's debug it. Add invoice, programming concepts, add 1, add. Okay, still the total amount isn't updated. Let me add another thing. Okay, update total, double total invoice items, not equal to null total plus invoice items, sum quantity, sale, discount, and extra charges. Okay, so here we need to assign this value to something we are binding to our view. So let me go to the view. Sorry. Add invoice view and go to the total, invoice total. Invoice total equals total. Okay. I'm hot reloading it. Just add another item, water bottle 1, add. Okay, now it's 64. So 50, 62, and 64. So now you can see this is being updated. If I add some extra charges, like service charges and discount for and paid like 70. Now again we need to update it on when these values change. So let's go back, and here when the extra charges get a new value, if okay, so when a new value is put in the extra, we update total. I'm gonna copy it, put it here too, and put it here too. Okay, run this again. Add new invoice, programming concept, item hat quantity 1, okay, 12. I'm gonna add 2 jackets, quantity 2, add, and then I'm gonna add extra charges 8. Then I'm gonna add discount 20 and paid 100. I'm gonna save this. Okay, until now we are okay, but we can see that the stock value is not changing. So we are selling these products, so they must be updating. So now we are going to update the stock accordingly. We need to add a deduction mechanism. So here, when we are adding new invoices, when we are adding invoice items, we need to deduct the stock. So all we need to do is we make sure that we have this thing in the stock. So first we get the stock value, the first one, which has this item ID equal to the item we are adding. So once we select that stock value, what we do is we check if stock is not null, and also how much value this stock contains. So if stock value greater than item quantity. So if the stock is more than required quantity, what we're gonna do is we deduct the value. So stock value now becomes stock value minus the item quantity. So the stock will be deducted. But if the value is, maybe if we do equal, so if stock value is greater or equal to the quantity, we just deduct the stock. But if it is greater, if it is greater than that value, then what we do is we stock value is 0. First we check how much we have deducted. So let me create a new variable, decimal quantity to deduct equals item quantity. And when we have deducted this, we put it like quantity to deduct is 0. And also what we do is item quantity is double, so let me do that double. Okay, I put this in a while loop. While quantity to deduct is greater than 0, what we do is we fetch the stock which has the same item, and where, sorry, for show default, and also the and sorry the stock value is greater than 0. So we fetch the first in the stock, which has the same item and also has the stock in it. So we fetch from that stock value. Okay, so we fetch the stock value, and if the stock value is greater than or equal to the required quantity, we just deduct all the quantity required, and we set the quantity to deduct 0. So when the quantity to deduct is 0, this while loop will stop. But if this stock didn't have enough stock, it had stock but not enough, not equal to the quantity we require. So what we do is we deduct the quantity to deduct. So we deduct as much as available, we put it 0, and then we run the loop again and search for another stock available. So here we need to db entry stock entity state equals entity state modified. Okay, so what we do here is we fetch from the stock and we update it, and then again if the quantity still remains to be deducted, like the invoice has a greater quantity than it was in the stock, we search for another stock entry and then we fetch from that, and so on. Also, we need to set this value here. I think we go to invoice item model, sale price, quantity, item ID. Okay, that's good. That's good for now. Okay, that's good. Now let me save this. Okay, now let's run this and see what happens. First, we go to the stock and see how much stock we have. So for the hat, we have 240, cap 130, jacket 110, water bottle 50, and mango juice 100. So we go to add invoice, programming concept. We add an item hat, and we order 10 of them. So they were initially 240, so the remaining should be 230 after we save the invoice. And the jackets, I think they were 130. I'm gonna deduct 10 of them and add. Okay, now paid 620. I'm gonna save this and I go back to items. So you see 230 and this is 100. Okay, the cap was 130, sorry. So now you can see that the deduction is working here. So I hope you learned something. In the next tutorial, we are going to view the invoices we created, and also we need to generate the crystal report for the invoice that we print it for the customer. Until then, take care. Allah Hafiz. See you in the next video.